Welcome back to the third part in this series of creating this new garden extension, which I think is probably going to end up being called the fountain garden, since the fountain, that is not here yet, is going to be the main feature of this garden. In previous episodes, I've talked through the design and we've done the shrub and tree layer. You will notice one thing about the tree layer. Unfortunately, there's a little less tree layer than there was. We had a bit of a breach, and some deer ate quite a bit of the bottom of these crab apples. Something to note about crab apples, they need some protection when they're young. I've got an older one that hasn't needed any protection, but when they're young in particular, and I think fresh from the nursery, there's something delicious about them. It will all grow back. It's just a little unfortunate they had to do it quite so quickly. But today's Perennial Day, and I'm putting in a nice little mix of perennials here, and I'm going to walk you through everything that's going in here. And actually, everything that's going in here is pretty deer resistant. Questionable on a couple of them, but none of them are like the first thing the deer are going to eat. Also, as with almost every project, this is taking way more plants than I expected it to. It always takes more plants. Because I don't really have enough plants to stretch the whole way here, we're really going to just concentrate on getting this side done. This side over here on the other side of the path by the weeping katsura, which also had a little bit of nibbling on it, will have fewer plants, but I've got some to put in here. I'm obviously going to have to buy more plants. This is no hardship. This is what happens. But I want to get this side of it, the fountain side of it, done. See that I've got things pretty well laid out, but I want to talk through what's going in here before I plant them. And we're going to start actually from the back side of this garden. And back here we've got a really reliable, good kind of ground covery plant. And this is Max Frey geranium. You can push this, it says full sun, you can push this into less than that, although this area is full sun. But this gets only 4 to 6 inches tall. It says it spreads 8 to 10 inches. In my experience, it can spread quite a bit more than that. So I expect that to fill in this area behind the crab apples and around the hydrangeas. This is the flower on it. And I would say that's kind of a magenta-y. It's lovely. It's got this really nice little, very fine foliage to it, much different from like your big root geranium, which has pretty bold leaves. These has these tiny little leaves on it. Now, I promised you that we weren't going to do a ring around the rosy planting here, and we're not. There is one other plant that's going to follow the circle, though. And that is that there's going to be a treasure trove rudbeckia planted in front of each of the crab apples. So that will go between all of the hydrangeas. This is a great new take on a rudbeckia. I've not had great luck with rudbeckias, but when I saw these growing in the Walters garden last year, display garden last year when I was there, I was so blown away by how amazing these plants were performing. A key factor in all this, which I'll tell you about in a second, is the fact that, I don't know if you can see this, but these leaves are like slightly hairy. They're fuzzy leaves. And fuzzy leaves are good for a couple of reasons. The first one is that they increase the disease resistance. And that is really, if you've had rudbeckias that have let you down in the past, that is the problem. Rudbeckias have always been very susceptible to septoria leaf spot. And what it'll do is it'll take down your plant right when they're starting to hit their stride on flowering. So you don't get a very long flowering period out of it. They start looking just brown and terrible, and they're just not good performers. Well, this one, I think they told me that they trialed it for 6 or 7 years and never saw a single instance of septoria leaf spot. And that's partly because of those fuzzy leaves. Those fuzzy leaves have another great advantage, which is that they make it quite deer and rabbit resistant. Now listen, your mileage may vary when it comes to deer and rabbits. They will eat different things in different people's gardens. The situations are different. However, I've had these sitting out while the crab apples got eaten and the katsura got eaten, and they literally tripped over them. I actually have a video of them. It's very blurry, but it looks to me like they tripped over the cans and then let them lay there. So that's how much they were not interested in eating them. This is a big plant though, you guys. This gets 32 to 36 inches tall, and I think equally as wide. Spacing minimum of 36 inches. So this is a big, bold statement. It should start flowering. It should just flower for a very long period of time. And there's absolutely nothing you need to do to this. I think it once, like a lot of plants, it will appreciate, average to slightly dry soils, fairly well amended soils, but I don't think you have to get fussy about the soil and worry about it, because this thing is going to perform very well in premium conditions, but still perform quite well in less than optimal conditions. So you can push this into certainly part sun, be just fine. Possibly even a little farther. You'll sacrifice a few blooms, but you're going to get good performance out of this plant no matter what. So anyway, that was a lot of talk about one plant, but it's a big, bold plant in the garden. And also, I like the idea of doing kind of a brighter color plant in here, because it's viewed mostly from a distance. So I think when you're viewing things from a distance, the brighter and bolder the colors, the more likely you are to see them and for that to draw you in. As long as we're talking about big plants, which that treasure trove is a big plant, we're going to talk about these. These plants are huge. This is a salvia that a sister in the range is already out on the market. This particular one is coming, this colorway is coming out next year. And this is called Living Large Dark Sky Salvia. This gets 2 to almost 2.5 feet tall, about the same spread on it. Hardy in zones 3 to 8. And it has what they describe as deep indigo blue blossoms, the darkest in the series. Very tall flower spikes, dense foliage, prolific branching, extended bloom for bold landscape. So this is just a giant salvia, is what this is. And you can tell obviously, nothing's touching these leaves. Big, bold leaves, significantly bigger than, like over here, we'll look at this. This is Caradonna right here. So that's what Caradonna's foliage looks like. So there's Caradonna on the left, and there is Living Large Dark Sky. Obviously, much bigger plant, much different form on this plant. In between those, I've got a grass. This is Paul Peterson Millennia, which is kind of a shorter growing grass. I think it gets maybe somewhere in the 2 to 3 feet range, but nice texture on it. And I'm really loving the Millennias. We don't use them as much as some other ones, but the ones I have are great performers. So I thought I'd go with Millennia instead of something like a little blue stem, which was my first thought for that. Then we've got 2 types of penstemon in here. The first one is this Bejeweled Dark Amethyst. This one, obviously, the rest of them aren't flowering, but I mean, look at the flowers on this. It's really beautiful. This is a more moderately sized plant. This gets 18 to 22 inches tall, spacing of 20 inches, long blooming, moderate sized perennial with native roots in the southwest. Full sun, well-drained soils, hardy in zones 4 to 8. This penstemon is the only one I'm questioning the deer and rabbit resistance on. I have penstemon in the garden and generally they avoid it, but I have seen nibbling on it on occasion. Anyway, so we've got, I think, 6 or 7 of those intermingled throughout this area. I have a sister plant to that over here, which is another one in this same line, and that is Bejeweled Lavender Spires. So same thing, shorter actually, now that I look at it. A little bit short, couple inches shorter than that one. And lavender, all the hardiness and everything is the same as that one goes. I don't think there's any flowering on it. Well, this one appears to be flowering, and I would say it's very hard to tell what color those buds are going to be, but that's going to be the Lavender Spires. Because I'm an allium nut, we're going to mix in 3 different kinds of allium and kind of intermingle them. I like this idea of interplanting multiple varieties of alliums. I think it adds a little bit more interest than just having one. And this first one is Bobblehead. I think you can tell why it's called Bobblehead. And this is a big guy. You can tell it's got this big, strappy kind of bluish foliage. 30 to 32 inches on that is the height. Spacing is 20 inches. And this is the description of it. A supersized allium with 3 to 3.5 inch pale lilac flowers that leave behind perfectly spherical seed heads. Foliage is glaucous blue-green with a twist to each individual leaf. So you can see the twist starting there. But I saw this one at Walter's Gardens as well, and last year, and it was quite big and stunning. I liked it a lot. Then we're going to mix that in with this guy, which is All the Buzz. This is another new allium from Proven Winners and Walter's Gardens. This one is shorter, 14 to 18 inches. You can tell it's got greener foliage. This is foliage that I more associate with most of these perennial alliums. And this is a floriferous pollinator magnet. And then I'm going to also mix in some serendipity, because I still have some serendipity left from this wonderful shipping error that happened in fall, where I got a whole bunch of bare root serendipities that I just quick stuck in a raised bed, and they actually did pretty well. So we're going to mix some of those in here. This is Persicaria fats domino, which is one of my favorite persicarias. This gets quite big. I think it's 3 to 4 feet tall. The flowers on it are lovely. I actually bought these bare root from Brex, I believe. So I have 2 of these over here. I could have put more in, but I think they're going to be, they're big plants. So I didn't want them to get too big here. So we're going to put one here, and I've got one down the road here, just kind of at the end of the line. I've got one down here. So you can see where I've created the new path. This is very rough with mulch. That's going to go past the fountain here. This is where, let me walk you down here. I mean, I envision this, that we're kind of walking along like this, and we're going to sort of turn the corner, and I'll probably have to bring the mulch out here a little bit more. Turn the corner and come this way, and then the fountain is right here. Because I think you want to be able to touch it, right? And get up close to it. And then I've just kind of unceremoniously ended that path there, because it doesn't need to go that far. Anyway, this area over here is where the existing bed, where we meet up with the existing bed. And this is all Calamintha Montrose white. And then, like I said, there's some Caradonna salvia in there. So I'm just going to pull that Calamintha Montrose white out. I am going to put in a couple of blue gentian in there, which doesn't come back very well for me. I have tried blue gentian a couple of times in here. I think this is one back here. I'm pretty sure this is a blue gentian right here. I'm not positive. But that would be the only one that came back for me. And I have planted several in here. But I'm going to try again. So I've got 3 blue gentian that I'm going to mix in there. The blue gentian Calamintha Montrose white mix is very, very good. It's an excellent combination. So the thing with this Calamintha, which I love, is that this one, Montrose white, is basically sterile. So you can get a lot of reseeding with these, which is not necessarily wanted. This one does not do that. And it has whiter flowers versus blue. It's a good doer for me. So I'm just going to extend that, because we don't want this to feel like a totally new space, right? Then you might wonder, what is happening in this area? Well, I'm going to pull those alliums that are out a little bit farther. We're also going to plant in here some of this. This is Carex montana. I like this Carex a whole bunch. It's very soft. It has a nice like drapey habit. It has really good, I like the kind of light green color to it. And I think I will tuck some of those in here and over there. And then we're going to mix in some, I wasn't really planning on this, hold on. We're going to mix in some of this geranium. This is called Azure Rush. This is, I believe, a seedling or a sport of Roseanne. And these were sent to me as trial plants. A neat low growing mound of large blooms in soft shades of blue. So this is shorter than Roseanne, and I think a little bit more manageable. Down to zone 5, from 5 to 8. So we're going to tuck probably, I've got 3 of those. They're small now. They will grow. They will grow big. So we'll tuck 3 of those in here, plant the Montana in there, and possibly, I might possibly mix in some of this Stachy's Humolo. But I'll tell you what, this can get quite big, and it's a little bigger than I may want there. I'm not sure. So that's the plant palette for this side. Let me show you what we've got going on over here. Not a lot. There's obviously some big holes here. I haven't decided for sure on some of the Chamaecyparis that you see placed there. But there are a couple of cool plants in here that I want to tell you about that are definitely going to go in here. First of all, more Calamintha Montrose white. On this side of the path, you know, I always believe in sides of the path continuing. So we get some continuity there, and it doesn't look like a path like was created. It looks like you just kind of made it when you walked through it. This is a plant that I just want to show you. This has been on my wish list for a very long time. And this is a comfrey called Axminster Gold. Very, very, very hard to find. And I believe it's hard to keep. It must be difficult to propagate because it's very expensive when you do find it. And I think it has a tendency to revert on occasion, which I think is probably the issue. So I think I'm going to put that guy probably right here because, like, why not enjoy this really special plant? I have other comfrey growing in here, which has been planted here when this was basically in shade. All of this is comfrey here, which it'll probably pop up more in here. You can't really get rid of this comfrey once you plant it because it's very deeply rooted. And this one is Russian Bocking 15, which is sterile, or as sterile as a comfrey gets. So this is not one that will seed around. It's a great pollinator plant. It's great for the compost pile. It's an excellent plant, and I do love it. You just have to know that once you have it, you probably have it for life. Then at this point, I have more of those Fat Domino in here. I've got some pink stand-up, what is it called? Stand By Me clematis. Thought I'd put those right here. And then this, speaking of clematis, this is actually a clematis, and this is a bush clematis called New Love, which should get, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall probably. Really interesting leaves on it, really pretty delicate flower. So I thought I'd kind of tuck that in this area. I think we're in enough sun here. There is an oak tree, but this is basically south facing. So once we get over here, we get quite a bit of sun in the afternoon. I think it'll be okay. We can always move things around. I'm still getting the hang of this area in terms of sun exposure. And then this is, I picked this up at Northwind. I don't know much about this plant except that Bob at Northwind recommended it to me. This is Euphorbia corlata, which is a native euphorbia here in Wisconsin. And he said he likes it a lot. Really beautiful, kind of delicate white flowers on it, I think. So right now I've got that here, and then this is a Stackies that I probably am going to have to put on the screen because it wasn't one that I had ever heard of. That's another Northwind thing, and you don't get plant tags at Northwind. You got to take pictures of the sign, so I've sort of forgotten. I believe that's a white bloomer as well. We're going to have one more tough stuff. This one is not planted yet. One more tough stuff over here, which will match up with the tough stuff hydrangeas on that side of the path. And then definitely some of that Stackies, some or all of that Stackies will go in here, but we'll still have some areas. And if I have some that Carex Montana left, I'll definitely put that on this side of the path. In fact, hopefully I do. I have 16 of them. I'll put that on this side of the path to pull that across on this side as well. All right, that's a pretty big plant palette, and honestly, it's more varieties of plants than I anticipated putting here, but I think these all relate really well to one another, so I don't think it's going to feel disjointed here. Okay, now I have got to get to planting so we can get these in the ground, so let's get to that, and then we'll see what it looks like at the end. Hey, it's me, Erin, from the end of the video, but I'm going to put this in the middle. If you're enjoying this so far, think about subscribing. I love it when you do, and I appreciate it. And leave a comment, because I want to hear what you're thinking. Thanks for being great viewers. Let's get back to planting. Okay, I just wanted to pause because I've got all the big perennials in, and now I'm putting in the 3 little geraniums, the bare root alliums, and the Carex Montana. And I just want to show you kind of how I have those laid out. I do need to work quickly though, because obviously these bare root things do not want to be cooking in the sun. But I'm just kind of flopping them on the ground and intermingling them, and we'll see. I wish I had more of that Carex Montana. Should have bought the whole flat, because I really would like some for over here. I don't know that I'll have it, but we'll see. So I'm gonna just go about and quick. These will be easy to pop in just with a small shovel or a trowel. Holy cow, you guys. That was incredibly satisfying. I am so thrilled with how this turned out. Let me show you. We filled this in a little bit. Obviously there's a little bit more there. I stuck one little Calamintha Montrose White right there to reference the other side of the path. I thought that'd be really cute there. And then everything else pretty much got laid out the way I explained it, with the exception of you have a much better idea now of how this front part was going to turn out. Well, did turn out. I feel like it's a very natural feel, which is good because it's coming off of a garden that is very natural feeling. So I feel like it doesn't feel disjointed. I think it still feels like it's part of this same garden. Well, this side actually turned out better than I thought it would too, because I just kind of found some plants. Since we didn't really have a plan, I did move some things around. I did have a little bit more Montrose White, Calaminther Montrose White, that I just added on to what was already here. This little fern, I think it's a little ghost fern, was here before we took down a tree, so it was shadier. I'm going to leave it there for now. We'll see what it does. I stuck the bush clematis right there, and I put the Axminster Gold Comfrey right here. I used my last few Carex Montanas along the edges here. Now a few more, I would like to pick up a few more of those to fill in this area or something similar to that. But I'm thinking, you know, something kind of grassy texture through there would be nice. I moved the 4 Stand By Me clematis from up there to down here because I thought this is sunnier down here, I realized as I was working in the garden. So those are right here. That cute little stackies that I didn't know the name of and still don't, but we'll have to look up, is right here. I did put the Tough Stuff hydrangea in the ground. And then we come up here and I moved the Euphorbia corlatas up to this area. There is a little, this is a little wood phlox. I don't know if it's going to make it. It was here before, and when we moved everything around, it got uprooted and whatever. So we'll see if it makes it. But I moved that Euphorbia corlata up here because I think this is a little shadier. Up, maybe? I don't really know, to be honest. It can handle anything, so it should be fine. I had 2 more of the living large salvias ready. Don't love to plant in 2s, but they'll be okay because they're so big. So one is there, one's right there. And then in between all this, I worked in all that Stachy's humolo. That's Bettany is the common name on that. Beautiful plant, very adaptable to a lot of conditions. So so this will be a big swath of that. I don't generally do blocks. I like to intermingle things, and I think we've got some of that going here. Oh, and then I had 3 more of the Fat Domino Persicarias. Now those don't look like much, but because again, I just potted those up from bare root and they were eaten by deer at one point. So those 3 are going to be here. Those will get tall. And then over here, I realized that I had 3 of these beautiful Prairie Princess Vernonias. Now we'll see if how well they do here because they want to be in like full sun, and this is kind of borderline full sun. We're in it right now, but it takes a while to get here. But beautiful plant, beautiful, lovely plant. So I just stuck those 3 there, and then I actually had 3 of the Lemon Perfection catmints, nepidas left. And since we have a little bit of chartreuse happening over there, I thought I could bring it over here. So that leaves, obviously there's some areas left to plant here. I mean, I've got a big area here and a big area here. And like I said, this Chamaecyparis that you see here may or may not go there. There's 3 of them, and I want them to kind of reference each other. So I like where these 2 are, but I don't like where the 3rd one is because it's way over there and it's like in a line. So I have to kind of figure where the 3rd one's going to go. But it might go here, and it wouldn't be bad if it went here. And so obviously I've got to, then meld this in with what's happening over here. And this is a lot of Carex. I think this is Carex rosea and a lot of weeds. There's other stuff in there, but there's a lot of weeds in there too. So we'll figure this all out. But I feel very, and I got to refine this edge, obviously. But I feel very good about how far I got on this side. And I like how it's working with the other side, even though there's not a ton of mirroring, there's enough. So I'm feeling very good about that. So even though it's a mess, let's walk down the path and see how it looks. All right, so we're walking down the path and it feels good. Once this fills in over here and we don't see the road anymore, and we just head straight to the vegetable garden. Presumably there won't be stuff in your way when that happens. Oh, it's good. It's good. Do I pat myself on the back? Maybe a little. Very happy with it. What's up here? So there's this tree stump where we took out the tree, and I have put up here the, what is this called? Fan Dancer Ginkgo that I got this year. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet, but for now it's going to live in the pot. Look at how beautiful the variegation is on those. Anyway, I thought I'd stick that here on that tree stump, because why not? All right, well, that was a satisfying gardening experience. Even without the centerpiece of this garden here, I feel like it is coming together so nicely. So that pretty much wraps up the planting. There is mulching to do and certainly watering to do immediately. But the next video is going to be all about the fountain when it gets here. I am nervous about getting it in and hooked up and all of those things. It'll be a process. First time for me with a proper fountain, so we'll see how it goes. All right, well, stay tuned for that one. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.